Welcome to the Perfectionist Guide to Mothering. I'm Andrea Fortenberry, and I'm here to help you break up with perfectionism, unrealistic expectations, and mom guilt to enjoy motherhood and love this one and only beautiful life God has given you. In these episodes, we will be real, vulnerable, and have fun too. My hope is that you will walk away encouraged and equipped for the hard and amazing work of motherhood. It's so exciting that my book, 2-Minute Timeouts for New Moms, 100 Devotions for Weary and Wonderful Days, is now out into the world. It has been so exciting to release the book, to see it in your hands, to see what you have to say, and I am so glad to hear from those of you who have messaged me or tagged me online that you are enjoying it and that you want to pass it along to other moms in your life. My heart is that every mom who reads 2-Minute Timeouts for New Moms will find faith, hope, and love for her journey. And while the phrase new moms is in the title, I truly hope that every mom who reads it will enjoy it, because the truth is that every new season of motherhood makes us a new mom all over again. And I think you'll find some encouragement for whatever season of motherhood you are in right now. So go to 2minutetimeouts.com and you will find links to buy it at all the major book retailers. It would make a great birthday, baby shower, Christmas, or just because gift. I hope that you will enjoy it and would love for you to leave a rating and review wherever you purchased it. Welcome to episode 145 of the Perfectionist Guide to Mothering. Today I have the privilege of chatting with Emma Donaldson. Emma is the founder of Joyful Mama Wellness. She is a licensed professional counselor and perinatal mental health specialist who supports Christian moms in the postpartum season. She helps new mothers understand postpartum anxiety and depression, emotional overwhelm, and intrusive thoughts, offering support that honors both their mental health and their faith. Welcome to the Perfectionist Guide to Mothering, Emma. So glad to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrea. I'm so excited to be here.
I think our conversation today is a perfect little pairing with my new book that just came out, 2-Minute Timeouts for New Moms, because
Yay.
I just have such a heart for moms and particularly new moms, because I think for many of us, we dreamt of becoming a mom and then we get to realize that dream. And it's so much harder than we ever thought in so many ways, like physically, mentally, emotionally. And I think we can also feel a lot of shame about our struggles and questions that we have. So I love that today, our conversation, you get to help us with some of those things.
Yeah, I'm so excited to dive into the questions and talk through it. I completely agree. There's very much a expectations meets reality moment, I think, that a lot of new moms experience.
Yeah, for sure. So let's chat about this. You say that the postpartum period is one of the most vulnerable and least understood seasons of a mom's life. I actually heard someone call it the fourth trimester recently,
Mhm.
just that period after having your baby that we envision being so blissful and wonderful, but it can be really hard too. And I'm sure listeners, as you are hearing this, you're nodding like, yes, it was and is really hard. So I would love for you to share a little bit more about that, Emma.
Yeah, I think it's hard for multiple reasons. The first being hormonal. So, right after that baby comes out, that's one of the biggest hormonal drops that a woman will experience in her life. And oftentimes, depending on where she gave birth and how she gave birth, she's surrounded by a good many people in that
Yes.
transition and stage. She's also trying to learn this new baby. She's trying to stay connected to her spouse. She's trying to share her news with friends and family, figure out who's going to be helpful and who she maybe isn't going to want to have around for a little while just to create some space. There's so much that goes on. And I feel like postpartum is one of those transitions in a woman's life where it permeates through every different facet of what she goes through. It touches her physical body, it touches her emotions, it touches her spiritually, it
Mhm.
touches her. If she's working outside the home, it touches her career. If she works inside the home, it changes everything about the way she does her day.
Right.
And if she's a first time mom, for the first time, she's realizing, like, oh, there's this person that's completely dependent on me, that I
Mhm.
have complete control over, and yet I'm not in complete control.
Right.
And
Oh, that's
so
such a good way to put it.
that's why I think it is can be one of the most challenging and vulnerable. So here's the vulnerable piece. I think she's vulnerable because we've covered lots of different areas just now of how she's impacted, but think about those different areas and how those areas may or may not be noticing that she's gone through such a major transition. And that's not because people are ignoring the fact that she just had a baby, but maybe they're not appreciating or really understanding what her mind and body and heart have just gone through. And
Right.
so, in a lot of those categories, we kind of expect business as usual. And so, I think that's why she can be more prone to struggling with her mental health when she's postpartum.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think we can also be really good at putting on the brave face or the poker face of like, I'm doing really well. And inside we feel like so overwhelmed and drowning and we're sleep deprived and just trying to hold it together. It's kind of like the duck, you see the duck on the pond, like swimming around, and you just see how it looks so smooth and lovely. But underneath, its legs are like furiously paddling. I feel like that's the image that
Yes.
comes to mind. Yeah, we try to hold it all together when really we might feel like we're falling apart a little bit. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's chat a little bit. What are some common postpartum experiences that moms feel ashamed about, but they don't realize that they are actually very common and they're not the only one who experiences these things?
So, the one that I talk about the most is probably intrusive thoughts, just because in my practice, that's the one that most women are ashamed to admit. And I'll normalize it. I'll say a lot of moms have these thoughts. They are more common than you would think. And I'll throw out a few examples. Like I'll say, imagining dropping your baby down the stairs, or imagining just crashing your car while the baby's in the back
Mhm.
into a tree or something like that. Here's the difference between the intrusive thought versus like maybe a normal thought. This one causes you extreme distress and disturbance. You don't want it to happen. It feels like this invader that kind of came into your brain and
Mhm.
just popped this horrible image, and you're horrified by it. But because it happened in
Mhm.
your mind, you think somehow you're now responsible for this thought. And maybe
Right.
part of you wanted to have it, even though you didn't. And so, even if I ask, even if I say, have you ever had a thought like this? More oftentimes than not, it puts the mom in a situation where she's like, "Ooh, do I want to actually share?"
Right.
Because I don't want anyone to think that I actually would want those things to happen. And so I love getting to educate women on that piece, because you can sometimes just see their shoulders drop even and be like, "Oh, well, if that's what it is, then yes, I have those all the
Mhm.
time." Um,
Right.
and they feel like there's a space to be able to name that. So I think the intrusive thoughts is a really big one. I think another one is experiencing the mental health impact from sleep deprivation.
Mhm.
So being up all night with a baby is oftentimes normalized as this is just a part of it, but oftentimes what's not talked about is the toll that takes on your mind and your body.
Mhm.
And there's women who will kind of laugh it off, or who will say, yeah, but that's just what it is. We kind of soldier on. We had 2 hours of sleep last night and we just kind of keep it moving.
Yeah. I drank five
Um,
cups of coffee to like keep keep going and yeah.
exactly right. And this is just how it is. And not being able to stop and say, oh no, this is like deeply impacts the way I think, the way I feel emotionally. I don't feel like I'm myself. I'm beyond tired. That's why they call it deprivation, right?
Mhm.
It's not just being a
Right.
little sleepy. It's like the amount of sleep debt accumulated is significant. And while that is part of the process and it's part of the design, it doesn't mean that you're meant to do it completely alone or by yourself, nor does it mean that it's easy on your body or no big deal. So
Right.
that's another one that I think I want to encourage women if they are struggling postpartum. And that might be something that has been really hard for them. They're like, is anybody else struggling with the lack of sleep? Yes. The answer is yes.
Mhm.
A lot
Right.
of women are. They just don't feel like they can share it. I think another one is changes in your marriage, especially
Mhm.
if it's your first child. That dynamic is completely different, and that can be tricky to sort out. And just because it's hard doesn't mean that it's bad. But a
Right.
lot of times, because there's not maybe not space to share and talk through it, the assumption is, oh, there's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with my marriage now because things are
Right.
different. I don't know quite how to connect to my husband the way I used to, or I don't know how to explain to him what I have just gone through with giving birth and being postpartum.
Right.
And so that can feel incredibly isolating as well. But it's more oftentimes more common for women than they think.
Well, interesting. I have a little story that like combines kind of all of those things together is that my daughter was like 6 weeks old. I had no idea that she had gastric reflux and she was colicky. So she would just cry
Mm,
constantly. And like all I knew to do was feed her. And I was giving her like the gas drops, thinking it was
mm,
that, and just trying to do what I could to console her crying. And I would sleep with her in our guest room so that my husband could get some sleep. And I
mm,
remember one night he got home from work and he was like, I'm so tired. And I had this intrusive thought of like, I want to punch him because I was so mad that he was
yep,
saying he was tired because I was so sleep deprived and so
yes.
exhausted. And, I would
Mm,
never really punch him, but like, I really just had
sure.
that thought of like, I'm
Yeah.
so angry because how could he be tired? I am
Mhm.
so exhausted. And I feel like in that season of our marriage, I mentally was competing with him a lot about like, I
Mm,
have it harder than you have it because
mhm,
you are getting some sleep at night, more sleep than I'm getting. And so, yeah, it took a while, honestly, of like, even after second kiddo, like realizing we're not competing, like we're a team. And even if he doesn't fully understand me and I don't fully understand him, we can help each other and communicate about what
mhm.
we're going through because we can't assume the other person knows. They just don't unless we share it.
Yes, that's so true. And I'm telling you, the sleep deprivation, it hits you all kinds of sideways. I felt very similarly after my second child was born, and what I was just mad all the time.
Yeah.
I was so angry. And I remember thinking like, I'm so angry and it's because I'm so tired. I'm so
Right.
tired. Like I just want to, I remember my jaw just being clenched all the time, you know?
Yeah.
And it's because I hadn't really truly relaxed and gotten into REM cycle in
Yeah.
a really long time. So
Yeah.
can relate to the feeling of wanting to punch someone in the face because you're just so tired.
And I really like that you talk about intrusive thoughts because I think nobody really talks about that, at least in circles I've been in, until probably like a year or two ago. I was actually with a group of mentor moms for the Momco group at my church, and we were talking about like, think back to when we were brand new moms, like what were the struggles? And someone said, I had intrusive thoughts and I didn't know what to do with those. Like,
Mhm,
I didn't feel comfortable sharing that in a group of other moms because
mhm,
she just felt so much shame about them. So I just like being able to bring that to light and to encourage new moms like you're not the only one who has those things. And just because they come up doesn't mean we derive the thought, like you said. It's
mhm.
really just is it like our brain just trying to figure out a solution in the moment or what do you think?
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
such a good question. Like, where do the intrusive thoughts come
Hmm.
from? There's a couple different theories to it, but what I've seen, a lot of it is driven by a nervous system that is on high alert, as it should be, because
Right.
God wired us to be very connected to this very small, helpless baby. The issue is when our nervous system goes on high alert for too long without a break, without help,
Mm,
and without support, that's when we start to see some of these symptoms. And so we start to scan our environment for danger, right? And it's not just the literal danger, it's like the what if dangers. And then it kind of floats into this extra realm of things that we don't have any facts that that could happen. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable?
mm,
Well, no, we're not even driving right now. Why are we having the intrusive thought of
right.
us hitting a tree? But it's kind of overextended into, well, if there's danger here, could there be danger there? Which then revs up your nervous system again, puts you back in that fight or flight. And it almost
Mm,
becomes like a cycle. And so then the
mhm.
thoughts continue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like our brains trying to protect protect
Mhm.
from danger, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming from a good place, but it's misdirected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've chatted, I think, a little bit about this, but just perfectionism can show up for us as moms. So what does that look like in the postpartum period?
Yeah. So a lot of times the perfectionism can show up with moms who are struggling with obsessive compulsive disorder.
Mm,
And you can present with obsessive compulsive disorder when you're pregnant or postpartum when you didn't have it necessarily
mm,
before. So it's called perinatal OCD. And it can be tricky and sneaky because on the outside it looks like maybe you're just a little particular about how you do things, and on the
mm,
inside it feels, because it's motivated by genuinely wanting to be a good mom, It's, I have to do these things. These are the rules that I kind of have to follow. And so it becomes this, I have to do it this way, the perfectionistic piece. It's got to look this way. I have to be the one to put the baby down.
Mhm.
I have to be the one to swaddle them in this way. I have to bathe them every time they've been with someone else besides me. And those rituals turn into the things that lower the anxiety around all sorts of things. The obsessions around, is the baby clean? Is the baby sick? Is the baby going to get sick going to these
Right.
places? So I often see the perfectionism tied in with OCD a lot, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes
Yeah.
it looks more general than that. It's like a lot of pressure. So new moms will oftentimes put pressure on themselves to feed, like for example, baby led weaning versus purees. They'll do
Hmm.
a lot of research because they want to do it right and they want to do the best way to ensure that their child is not going to be a picky eater and that they're not going to choke. And so they're like, what do I
Right.
do to ensure that both of these things happen? Spending hours researching on it
Mhm.
with the goal of getting it right so that they have this assurance that everything is going to be okay. And so on the outside, it might just look like, oh, she just really deeply cares. But on the inside, it's causing all sorts of anxiety because once you feel like you've um, gotten to this perfect standard, you feel like you have to keep it. You feel like you're not allowed to make a mistake because if you do, it means you're not a good mom. Or oftentimes, what I hear is, my baby's going to suffer. And so, talking through, is your baby truly going to suffer, or is your baby going to be uncomfortable? Or, and this is oftentimes where it lands, do we even know? Do we know? Or
Right.
are we assigning like our fears and our feelings onto this baby when we don't actually have enough information to think those things through?
Yeah, I think we do that a lot. We project our
Mhm.
insecurities or fears on on the baby and like our things we can do to control that may or may not have that outcome. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And then I think too, with the perfectionism, it can often keep us as new moms feeling stuck. So if we tell people that we need help or we admit there's an area that we're struggling with, it means that we are not doing it perfectly. And the fear of admitting that we're not doing it perfectly can sometimes keep her from getting the support that she needs too.
I think we let our pride get in the way. I know that was me as a
Mhm.
new mom, like just feeling like I should be able to manage everything and then
Mhm.
just not realizing, oh, every mom who has ever lived has needed
Yeah.
help. That's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of community. And we've all heard that
Yes.
phrase, like it takes a village to raise a child. And we're so happy to be part of someone else's village, but we have a hard time, I think, sometimes letting a village develop in our own motherhood and around our children.
Totally. I love how you said that. We're happy to be a part of someone else's village, but if we're the ones needing it, it is really hard. It's hard to
Yeah,
ask for help. Yeah.
yeah. So let's chat about that a little bit. In your experience, what is the importance of community for new moms?
Oh, it's so important. It's so important. And for one of the reasons we just mentioned is because it creates some space for you to be real with someone else, have them be real with you. That vulnerability can be so healing of getting to open up and share and not have somebody fix you or an answer to the problem or even be able to relate. Sometimes it's not about relating, it's just about being there and saying, I'm so sorry. That's really hard. I care about you. You're
Yeah.
important to me. I think you're a great mom, and encouraging her is really important. This idea of like social support is something that at some point most therapists are going to encourage their
Mhm.
clients to do. What I find it to be difficult though with my postpartum clients is that feels like one more thing.
Yeah.
I already have so much to do, Emma. Don't tell me to go to a mom's group. Don't tell me to go to the Bible study at church. I'm not trying to do the workout because it's one more thing to do, right? And so that is like a real hurdle and barrier that I have found is, what are some ways that we can like go to new moms and reach new moms who are truly in the thick of it, as we
Mhm.
described, navigating hormones, navigating sleep deprivation, maybe navigating intrusive thoughts, relationship dynamics changing with friends, with husband, with work. How can we like go to her and help her build that village and give her that social support?
Mhm.
Because it that I find is like really what makes the difference is, who does
Yeah.
she have outside of, if she's in counseling, a counseling relationship, who does she have outside of that? Who can she call at 9 a.m. because she wants to go for a walk or a play date and didn't sleep all the night before, and she knows their friend that can come and bring her coffee.
Right. Yeah, it's so important. And I think in our culture, it's super easy, moms of any stage, really, to isolate. Like we can have our diapers delivered, we can do
Hmm.
grocery delivery. Like it's super convenient and easy and makes our life run smoothly, I think, in a lot of ways. But we need that adult interaction
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
more than I think we realize, even if it's with a stranger, right? Like just the
Yeah.
cashier at the grocery store, like, oh, you're another adult. Like I'm out of my house and just having
Mhm.
this little conversation can, I feel like, revive us a little bit as
Mhm.
moms. So I think, yeah, it's important for new moms to like just realize it's not a chore. It's like a baby step toward just taking care of yourself well. Like you said, having a friend like to just walk around the block with, or just going to sit
Mhm.
outside versus sitting inside, just seeking out ways to take care of yourself, which then helps you
Mhm.
to be a good mom. We feel that mom guilt sometimes of like doing something for ourselves, but really
Mhm.
it helps us to show up better when we're able to
Yeah.
do that.
Oh, 100%. And your baby needs an attuned mom who's taking
Mhm.
care of herself and who's in a healthy headspace. And this is something I talk a lot about is quality versus quantity time, like with your kids, but especially being postpartum with your baby. You can be there all the time, but if you're highly dysregulated and you haven't cared for yourself
Mhm.
and you're struggling, you're there, but you're not present.
Right.
And what your baby really needs is for you to be a present mom so that you can be attuned to them and have that healthy attachment. And that's something I think sometimes we can get fixated on is like there's this list of things to do to effectively bond with the baby. And I'm like, well, before we do anything, let's be something first, which is calm. Let's be grounded in ourselves, meaning like we're not living in the past experience of what did I do wrong and ruminating over this thing, or living in the future anxiety of I need to fix all of these things. Like, let's be in the present moment first and foremost. And that is the best thing, really, to do beyond some of the other things that the internet tells us we need to do to bond with our kids.
Right. Right, for sure. For sure. Let's chat about this. Why is it hard for Christian moms to seek help for their mental health?
I think that a lot of Christian moms think that the presence of struggle means the absence of faith. Like they've done something wrong. It's somehow like a reflection of their relationship with the Lord if they're struggling with their mental health postpartum. And to admit that they need help might mean that someone is going to correct them rather than meet them where they are with love and compassion. And unfortunately, I hear that a lot, where there's a well-intended friend who desires to love this person, but in reality, what they do is tell them, "But do you remember this verse? Or have you prayed about that yet?" And then your mom is like, Yes, I do know that verse. It's,
Mhm.
written on my mirror, and I have been praying about it, and I still feel hopeless, and I still feel depressed." And I'm still really sad and I'm still regretting having this baby. Even though I love this baby, I like want my old life back so desperately. And those are the things that they need to say and get out. But
Right.
when they're met with that, they're like, "Oh, well, now I'm definitely not going to share that." And so it goes back into the isolation of feeling stuck and feeling like they can't share. And I think the other part goes that's with people. I think the other part is their own relationship with the Lord and sometimes thinking that God's disappointed in them, that God
Mhm.
is upset that they're struggling with postpartum anxiety, or that he believes them to be ungrateful because they're having a hard time. And so sometimes even just evaluating a new mom's own theology and her relationship with God and
Mhm.
who she believes him to be. Is he this angry person who is expecting perfection of her and wanting her to get it right? Or is he something else? Is he someone who already knows every thought that she's already had and knows where she is and desires her to come close?
Yeah, that's really important. It reminds me of the Apostle Paul. I think it's in Second Corinthians where he's talking about three times he has pleaded with the Lord to take away the struggle that he's having, but instead God tells him, "My grace is sufficient for you because my power
Mm-hmm.
is made perfect in weakness." And so then Paul says, like, I'm going to boast all the more gladly now about my weaknesses so that Christ's power can rest on me. And as a mom, I felt such encouragement from that, realizing, oh, God didn't expect me to be perfect. It's actually when I feel weak and like I'm messing up that He can show up and really reveal his power in and through me. And so just for any new mom, all the moms listening, just to remind you of that God is with us every step of the way. And I think particularly with mental health, health in general, like we can pray when we're having a struggle, mental health or physical, and sometimes the answer that God leads us to is counseling, seeing a medical doctor, prescription medication, right? Like those
Mhm.
can be answers to the prayers that we pray. We might think that the answer is instant supernatural healing, but sometimes the
Mhm.
healing comes through these earthly tools that he's given us.
Absolutely. Totally
Yeah.
agree with that.
Any other encouragement, Emma, that you want to offer for Christian moms to, again, all moms of all ages, but particularly new moms to really care for her mental health well without feeling like she's failing in any way?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the first step is to find someone that she feels safe and comfortable with to just share how she's really doing. To not think through, like, is this the way I should be feeling? But is this actually how I'm feeling? And can I just be honest about that? And that can be hard to find that person. But if you do have someone that in your life that you feel comfortable enough sharing, I think that is a step, because a lot of the anxiety and the struggle is so internal. The
Mhm.
minute that we say it out loud, we do start to feel like a little bit better. We've shared it with
Right.
someone else. Even just seeing their face and seeing, like, oh, that's so hard. And you're like, you know what? It is hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
And I've been walking this road by myself for weeks.
Mhm.
And now I'm not alone in it. Now someone else is walking it with me. So that's the first encouragement I have, is being able to share it with someone. I think the second thing is, don't underestimate how your mental health can impact the other areas of your life. And when you neglect your mental health, it will show up in those other areas. It can show up in your physical health, it can show up with your relationships. It impacts so much of who we are and how we do things. And the mind is really important. And so we want to tend to it and care for it because it's worth being cared for. And so I think I would just want to encourage new moms who are struggling. Your mental health matters. It's important. It's important to the Lord. And if you are having a hard time postpartum, it doesn't mean that you did something wrong. And it might need that you need some help, and that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, so good, Emma. Such great encouragement. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Well, now in this next segment of the episode, I'm going to ask you some fun questions. So, first one is, what are you reading, watching, or listening to these days?
So I am actually reading a book about fasting. It's called Fast Like a Girl. Not sure if you've ever heard of
I
it
think I've heard
before.
of it. Yeah, I've heard of it.
So I have always heard that fasting, mainly for health reasons, not necessarily the spiritual practice, but fasting for health reasons, intermittent fasting is a great
Yeah.
example. Isn't great for women because of our hormones. It can negatively impact our hormones. However, this book is claiming that if you fast at certain parts of your menstrual cycle, it could
Oh,
actually be
interesting.
very beneficial. And as long as you are doing it in accordance to your menstrual cycle, the negative effects that some women experience, you shouldn't have. And in fact, you should have a lot of positive ones. It can be a
Oh,
great
interesting.
reset for your body, help you detox. If weight loss is a goal, of course, that can be something too. Can help your gut health, all sorts of things, your circadian rhythm, help you sleep better. And so that has been very fascinating to read. Of course, there's stuff in the book that I don't subscribe to, and it
Yeah,
doesn't paint with my worldview. However, this is where we chew the meat and spit out the bones. And there has been a
right.
lot of meat. It has been very fascinating. So,
Oh, okay. Good to know.
yeah,
I'll have to check it
yeah.
out. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
hmm
Next one, what is a product, service, or practice that makes your life easier?
Product, service, or practice. For a while, and I haven't done it recently for other reasons, but for a while, there was a season where doing my grocery order was so helpful, because when I had the brain space to make a list, I would just get on my computer. Could never do it on my phone. I can't tell you why. It just was like a mental block for me. But if I could do my grocery pickup order on my computer, get into work mode, plan out my meals, do it that way, schedule the pickup, have it picked up in the morning, bring it home. For whatever reason, that helped me meal plan so
Yeah.
much easier. I didn't set foot in a grocery store for, like, I don't know, 2 months. It was awesome. That's not my current reality anymore. But that's something that that I'm like constantly telling women too is you find a rhythm for a little bit and then it gets outdated and you have to find a different one, and
Yep.
that's okay.
Yes.
But that was probably one of my favorite ones and made my life a lot easier when it came to meal planning.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I love what you said because there's always seasons to things. Some seasons are short, but others are long. And I feel like sometimes when I get something down, something else changes. So you need a new strategy for the new season. So finding what works is important and then just being flexible and adjusting.
Yes, exactly. And the moment it comes outdated, you're just like, well, that was a fun season. Guess we're going to
Right.
find something else.
Yes, something new. Next question. I feel like maybe we've talked about this a little bit, but see if anything else comes to mind. What is your best self or soul care tip for moms?
One of my favorite ones right now is having a day where you have childcare and you're not working. There is like a permeating theme in culture that if you have paid for a mom, at least if you have paid childcare, you better be working. There's got to be something
Mhm.
worthwhile that you're doing with that time. And maybe this less applies as kids get into school age years and it feels a little different when they're at school, but certainly for moms who have daycare or babysitters or nannies, things like that, there's this pressure to have that time be productive and be financially fruitful.
Mhm.
And I just don't think that that's true. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's helpful. I think that's a recipe for burnout. And so if a mom is feeling like, gosh, spiritually, I just don't have the time to connect with other women at my church the way that I want to, and I feel like I'm always doing the groups that have the childcare, but then it doesn't work out. Well, then maybe what you do is you do a group that doesn't have childcare and you get a babysitter and you do
Right.
an adult only group, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe you have childcare and you go to a coffee shop by yourself and you enjoy that, or you go for a walk, you work out by yourself. I think it's wonderful we have all these tools to bring our kids with us, but sometimes that's not what our souls need. Sometimes we need a
Yeah.
break from our kids so we can be better moms. And so that would be my advice is to find that time and don't feel bad about it.
Oh, so good. So good. I feel like we put that on a banner in the sky for all the moms to see. Because, yes,
I love
we do. I just found, yeah, the longer when my kids were younger, the longer I would try to hold out on that self-care and just a moment to breathe, I would just feel more irritable and frustrated
it.
and not show up as the mom that I wanted to be. But when
Mhm.
I would take that time, and like you said, I wouldn't even always do anything productive. I would like wander the bookstore or
Yeah.
just walk around the outdoor mall and drink a latte. I came back just so much more refreshed, even if it was just a few hours. So
Mhm.
I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. We just need some time to be who we are and not
Yes.
produce or be taking care of anybody else but ourselves.
Totally. Yes.
So, listeners, I hope you will go out and do that soon.
That's
So,
right.
next question. What is God teaching you in this season?
Oh, so my current season is I've got three kids. My oldest is almost five. He loves to fit almost five, not quite five yet. He says 4.5, but then he'll remind you that his birthday's in a month. And then my youngest is 10 months old.
Okay.
And then my middle child is three. And it is so interesting how every postpartum journey for me has been different. It's had
Mm,
its unique challenges along the way. And I think what the Lord is teaching me is just a lot of humility. Just when I think I have something figured out, you don't. You don't actually figure it out. And it's not in a like self-deprecating way
mhm,
or a it's more of like I'm your daily bread and you'll continue to need me. And so I'm learning this time to press in and be thankful for those opportunities. And when I'm
mm,
reminded of my need for him,
mhm,
instead of seeing it as a point of weakness for me or a point of failure for me,
mhm.
it should be like a good reminder because I need him all the time. And it should be a
Right.
little more scary the times where I think I don't need him and I think I'm more self sufficient and self reliant. And I do have a very independent personality. That's definitely one of my values. And so learning to not knock that either. That's one of the ways the Lord made me, and that is good. And like it's all underneath the umbrella of I have a desperate need for him. And so that has been challenging with three small kids, but it's and working and marriage and all the things.
Mhm.
But it has been a blessing to be humbled in that way for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, just really seeing, yeah, God wanting to grow us and stretch us in our motherhood and that dependence is really a gift. And we, again, culturally, the messages we get, like sees that as a negative, but it's really beautiful when we can embrace that posture and just seek and see God in our everyday life.
Absolutely. Like there's things that I needed help with this time that I didn't need help with last time, you know? And
Yeah.
so that can be a point of, oh man, I'm doing something wrong this time, or circumstances are different. Praise God that I have the help. Keep
Right.
moving, you know?
Right. Yeah. So good. Awesome. Well, Emma, this has been such a fun conversation, fun to get to know you and just love your encouragement and your heart for new mamas. So if people want to connect with you, where can they find you and your resources?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It's been so great chatting with you. So right now the best way is probably through my website, joyfulmamamentalwellness.com. And on there, you'll see the different things that I offer. I have a counseling practice, but right now, Joyful Mama is not my counseling practice. It's actually my way of wanting to reach women to encourage them and help them with their mental health outside of the counseling room. Because, like I mentioned earlier, there is this gap between what's happening in therapy and then what's happening in the real world. And postpartum moms, I think, need to have more outreach. Like they need people to go to them sometimes. And this is my attempt to do that with resources, education, and then also a support group that's completely virtual to where they can join from anywhere because it's not therapy. It is therapist led, but it's not therapy.
Mhm.
So there's no barriers in terms of having to be in the right state or any things like
Right.
that with licensing. But it's pure support in terms of like getting to build that community with other women while having it facilitated by a therapist who can help guide the conversation, make sure things are productive,
Yeah.
but ultimately so that women don't feel alone in their mental health and have a setting where it's safe to talk about their relationship with the Lord and faith and don't
Yeah.
feel like that's going to get undermined. So that's all that on that website. It's currently closed. It's on a wait list. So when I open that back up, joining the email list is the best way to get news about that. Right now, the email list is mainly comprised of weekly reflections, encouragement, very similar to some of the stuff that we chatted about today.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm also active on Instagram and TikTok, a little bit less than the email list, but those are other areas where moms can find me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I will link those places in the show notes so that listeners, you can grab those easily. And again, Emma, thank you for just such a great conversation and all of your great encouragement.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It was great talking with you.